Hi, quilters. Today's show is all about completing the next steps for our AQS AccuQuilt-Along.
Stay tuned and see what we're up to today.
Hey, quilters. I'm Pam Hiller, AccuQuilt's cutting expert.
And I'm Erica Botker, AccuQuilt's creativity expert.
Welcome to part 3 of the Go Morningstar Rainbow Quilt AQS AccuQuilt-Along. Today we'll be showing you how to cut setting triangles. We have such a great tip. Erica has figured out something. It's
very
magical.
excited.
And we're going to assemble our warm blocks.
Plus, we're going to have live question and answer all throughout the show with AccuQuilt customer experience advocate, Miss Emily Kerr, as our in-house moderator.
Hi, Miss
welcome.
Emily.
Hello, hello. How's everybody doing?
Good.
Good.
Okay, before we get started, Emily, did you bring a block that we're going to show?
Yes.
I sure did,
Look at
yes.
this.
I am doing a scrappy version of the quilt. And so I just kind of went into my stash, and I love the gold sparkly fabric that came out of it.
That is so pretty.
I'm having a great time, and it was so helpful watching you guys sew it last week so that I got all of the pressing tips and make sure I was piecing it correctly. So I'm excited for this week.
Well, and you and Miss Cora are both doing that. So 2 of our team members are doing that together. So they're just jumping right in along with us.
We sure are.
All right, so be sure to ask be sure to ask any questions you might have in the comments section wherever you stream our show, and then Emily will relay them to us.
That's right. Now, quilters, in case you missed it, last week we started to sew together the cool blocks, which is what we call the outer blocks in the project.
The week before that, we cut some Morningstar pieces, organized them, and discussed some possible layout options.
And the first show for this Quilt-Along series, we actually kicked off with an introduction. I crashed in on Pam's Wednesday show, and we talked about the fabric for this block.
Right.
And the fact that you can use both the Morningstar die or the traditional rotary cutting method. That information is in the AccuQuilt blog from that day. It's also in the AQS blog. And then the first show, we talked about cutting again. We cut with the die. We had tips for organizing your pieces, and we've talked about possible colors and variations all along the way.
Yes. Now, quilters, it's beneficial to watch each show in order before you start the Go Morningstar Rainbow Quilt. So be sure to check it out on AccuQuilt's video gallery, our Facebook page, or our YouTube pages. That's where they all live.
And if you ever want to go back and watch another show again, you can totally do that as well.
Right.
All right, so we started last week on our cool blocks. And Greg, I'll hold up a cool block here for you. So this is my outer block. And I've made some changes along the way with my fabric selection.
Yes.
And these are the ones that are going on the outside. And remember, we're using cool and warm like titles, not descriptions, because that's how they are. That way it's going to match up with your pattern.
Right, the pattern's going to talk about it. And here's a couple of mine. So these are super fun. Mine obviously is the Halloween theme, which is so great. Now, quilters, remember, if you're a little behind in sewing your cool blocks, no worries. That's why we started it last week.
Right.
So you would have a little bit of extra time. This isn't a quilt. This is a quilt-along. It is not a race. It is a process, though some of you have already crossed the finish line.
Yes, amazing.
We have seen so many
absolutely amazing.
quilts.
So the good news is that when it comes to those warm blocks or the inner blocks, you only need 4.
All right, so show me your warm block.
Here's my warm block.
Ooh. And again, it's a placement description, not a color description.
Exactly.
Look at how fun that one is. I like that one.
And last week we talked about cutting that plaid too.
Right. And then this is one of my warm blocks.
I just love that so much.
Super cute, right? With the bats and the ghosties.
The bats. Love
All right.
bats.
So these are just samples of ours. And again, you only need 4 of those warm blocks for the center of the quilt.
Right.
And like we mentioned at the beginning, Emily is here to ask any questions that you might have, and we can answer them.
That's right. All right, so you can put those questions in the comment section wherever you're streaming our show, and Emily will grab them from there.
Yeah, and we have our team working off-site to funnel those questions.
Yes.
Okay?
Absolutely.
Now, just like with the cool blocks, you want to lay out your pieces for the warm blocks.
Yes.
And I'm going to lay mine out on the wool mat. Now, look, here's my coloring sheet that I did.
Right.
I took little scraps of the fabric. The ones that have no fabric are just the solid background black in my case.
Okay.
And this is the way I'm going to lay out my pieces on my gray mat. Erica, what are you going to do?
So I use the coloring sheet, and we've talked about the coloring page earlier. So the coloring page is found on the products page on AccuQuilt.com at the end of the block assembly directions. So below the description of the die, you're going to see in green letters where it says block assembly directions. If you click on that, it'll open them up, and if you want to, you can just print the back page, which is the coloring page. And then what I did was go ahead and make a fabric chart. I have a lot of fabrics. I have, as you can see, 12 different fabrics plus my background. So I made a chart and numbered them, and then used that to not only fill in my sheet here, and I've made some changes along the way, like changing these up to be my background color, but then I calculated the number of pieces that I needed for my cutting as well.
And for mine, I only had 8 fabrics, so it was much easier for me. And my way of storing all fabric is in Ziploc bags. It's just my favorite method.
Yes,
okay?
yes it is.
All right, so before we start laying out our blocks, Miss Emily, do we have questions to start?
We do.
I'm sure we did.
Oh, yes.
Bobby Marie wonders,
Hi, Bobby.
is the Morning Star a new die, or has it been around for a while?
It has been around for a long time. In
That's
fact,
a fun question.
It is. I bet it's been around 5, 6, 7 years, I bet.
Yeah?
5, 6, 7
No,
years.
not that long.
Well, it was long before COVID, and COVID was 3 years ago.
Was it? Yeah, it was, I guess.
I guess so. So yes is the answer. We don't know
Yes,
when.
it's been around for a while.
And the quilt that hangs behind Emily was the sample quilt that I made, and it hangs here in our gallery at AccuQuilt. You'll notice it is black
Yes.
and white grunge.
Yes, yes.
For the win.
Yes.
And I learned a lot after I made that. I learned,
You
for
did.
example, I just do 1 block at a time. Erica does 2. But I learned that there's a method on how to sew them together and how to press it, which is why we were so excited to use it here in our quilt-along.
Yes.
And I have made several of them, and you have made a couple as well,
yes,
right?
I have. I
Yeah.
have. I actually used this pattern to make one for my daughter and son-in-law for a wedding gift when
There
they
you go.
got married.
There you go.
Awesome.
All right, so we're going to start.
We're going to start laying out. And Emily, do you have any questions for us as we start to lay out our blocks here?
Sure. Annette A. wonders, will all of your blocks, warm and cool, look the same?
Yes, in my case they will.
Yes.
In Erica's case, will they?
Yes, they're designed to be the same. So your the pattern is written so that you will have 4 identical
I'll walk up here.
warm blocks
Okay,
in the center.
so look at these. These 4 blocks are the same. They're turned on point.
Right.
And they're positioned differently, but this is our warm block, and then this is our cool block. So they are designed to be the same. Now, if you make it totally scrappy,
may not
It
be.
may not be.
Or it may be, color-wise, it may be the same, but the actual print may be a little different.
Yeah, yeah. But that's a really, really good question.
It is. It is.
All right.
We
What
have
else do
smart
we have,
quilters.
Emily?
Rosalind asks, for cutting strips that will be placed horizontally, do you cut on the lengthwise grain or width of fabric?
I always cut strips width of fabric.
And here's the thing, our strip dies, you can cut any way you like
Yes.
because there are no crosswise blades. And that's when we talk about lengthwise grain and all of those cutting rules, it's because of crosswise blades.
Sure.
And happily, those strip dies are designed without them, so you can cut any which way you would like.
But
That is a great question.
Easy peasy.
keep talking because I need to cut some pieces
Let's see.
from the Morning Star.
And what did I say before we started?
She asked me.
Pam, do you have all of your pieces cut?
And I said, yes, I do.
Yeah, she did.
I did.
She was real cavalier about that,
was too. I was a little incensed that she'd asked me.
Yes, of course I do.
The great thing about the Morning Star die, it's going to fit through all of our cutters, including that Me. And on the blog that the lovely Erica wrote, there are also rotary cutting instructions, right, with the template?
Why, yes, there are. Yep, downloadable template for these two shapes. So that's the nice thing about it, is that it is just those two shapes that are on the die that you need.
Just these triangles and half square triangles.
And basically what we're going to do to put these together, just like we did, if you missed last week, is we're making triangles out of these little triangles.
Yeah. And it's super great because the die has the shapes that are, have the dog ears cut off, so they're going to lay together perfectly. All the things.
So nice.
All the things. So wait, I'm going to have to, I'm going
There
to
you
get
go. All right, Miss Emily, do we have questions as we're laying out our pieces?
Yeah. Not at the moment, but keep them coming, folks. I'm here
Keep
for
coming
you.
because we are here. Okay, so let's talk about how we want to lay out our pieces. Erica does 2 blocks at a time. I just do 1. And what we're going to do is we're going to lay out our blocks, and then I sew kind of like in a circular.
Yeah, I tried that too, and I think I may do that this way as well, since I just have 1 left that I need to make for this.
Yes, she's a little bit ahead of me. I need to, but don't worry, it's not a race.
It's not a race.
Right.
It's not a race, although she's a little competitive.
Just a tad. And I won't be here for the next 2 quilt-alongs, and so
Next to Wednesdays.
next 2 Wednesdays.
She's
yes.
going to be off on the road at some exciting things. So tell everybody where you're going to be the next couple of weeks.
Next week and Wednesday, I will be in Hamilton, Missouri at Missouri Star Quilt Academy. So if you're coming to Academy and haven't signed up yet, you can sign up for my class.
How fun is that, quilters?
I know, I'm pretty excited about that, so that will be fun. And then I come back, and then I'm headed to Long Beach with our team to the Long Beach Quilt Show. So we actually have our own booth there this year. So quilters, if you are coming to Long Beach, stop by the booth and say hi. We're going to let you cut with some dies, and we're going to have some demos. It's going to be a ton of fun.
How
Yes.
So,
It's out of the way.
and somewhere in there, we're going to have the 4th of July and my happy birthday.
Yes. Now, remember, 4th of July is on a Tuesday. We normally do a Tuesday show, but we're not going to.
We are not.
We just are not going to do that.
Yeah, so we'll have a special date, we'll talk about it, for the release of the July die to try, which you will not want to miss.
Oh, yes.
Right. And speaking of die to try, do we have any foxes left?
Just a handful, and I show one here.
Yes. He was around here somewhere.
They're just
I almost
so
cut him in
cute.
half with my fabric.
Oh, geez.
Somebody would have cranked about that. Okay, look at how cute he is.
He's so fun.
So this is our fox die. It is the July die to try. He has free embroidery downloads. He has some for purchase embroidery downloads. This was made with the 12-inch cube. He sits perfectly on a 6-inch square or an 8-inch square. He also has some amazing for purchase embroidery designs.
Oh,
one
yes.
of which is
So
a
cute.
squirrel that Erica loves.
Yeah.
And
So
Erica is often calling the fox die the squirrel. It's
yeah.
only available to the end of the month or till we sell out, which is probably going to be today.
Right.
So make sure you pick one up. If they're sold out on the website, you can always pick them up from your local AccuQuilt retailer. But he's super cute.
He is super
Precious.
cute.
Just precious.
Precious is such a good word for him. Okay,
Ooh.
so I'm just laying out my pieces because I'm talking. But Erica's starting to sew.
Well,
which
I
is
was,
good.
but I came
Well,
Unhooked.
and we do have a sewing question.
Oh,
which is a
okay.
good-
Ask us your sewing
Fabulous.
questions.
So Peggy wonders, is there a way to take out the bulk in the center? We were kind of talking about that a little bit, Erica,
Yes.
before the show.
well,
Yes. You want to push your seams open.
yeah.
And that's going to help get rid of that bulk because it's just so many pieces, right?
Right.
Yes, it is a
And-
lot of pieces.
And
It
so
is.
because of that, you know, if you know, typically we press to the dark side or, you know, however that works. But on this particular block,
we do. On this particular block, it's really going to help.
it really will help.
And then I have been going back. As a matter of fact, I did this just before we went live. I went back and took my sample block that I had here with me and went ahead, turned it so that it was right side up and pressed it again and put my clapper on it.
Okay, now Erica this is a great chain piecing block. So Erica is just grabbing her pieces, sewing a left to a right. I always do the right side of the triangle to the center. And we're just gonna chain piece for days.
There you
We
go.
are. So
It's one of my very favorite things
reaching
to
across.
do.
And one of the nice things about this is that you will see that the dog ears, because the ends of them you look and they're kind of funky, they don't come to points. That's because we've specialized those dog ears so that they're going to A, line up perfectly, and B, so that you don't have to go back and do any trimming
Right.
afterward. So that to me is a huge time saving because nothing irritates me more now that I'm used to sewing with my dies than having to go back and trim off little dog ears.
Yeah, it just takes so much time. And the
Right.
chances of you snipping that fabric and cutting your seam are so good. And it's just so much easier with dies. And remember, you want to sew a true 1/4-inch seam. Our dies are built with a 1/4-inch seam allowance. Okay, now finally I have all my pieces out here.
I thought maybe you were gonna, you might like to join me.
I know, sewing, right? Jeez. I know, little snarky over there in the corner.
No.
Ahead.
Pam's dragging a little bit today. I was dragging yesterday. So
Brock gave us a little pep talk.
Brock gave us a little pep talk.
This is actually one of my favorite, I would have to say all-time favorite dies at AccuQuilt. I mean, truly. So the fact that I've made probably 4 quilts, I think, with it, really does make a difference.
Well, and I have a little wall hanging of it in my office at home, and just with 4 blocks, because even just with 4 blocks, I had some batiks left over from another project. I didn't know what to do with them, and I thought, I know, this is what I will do.
And this makes a 12-inch finished block. So we're gonna cut with the 12-inch setting triangles here in a minute. So I'm just taking the center, adding the right side, putting right sides together. Because we have those specialized dog ears, it's gonna line up perfectly.
Now,
All right, Miss Emily, do we have questions?
Yes.
We surely do. Joy S. is asking, do you press the seams as you build the block?
I do. So I've got my first chain here that I cut off, and I'm gonna come and press these open.
Perfect.
And then I'm gonna lay them back on my layout next to me.
And Greg is running our little mobile camera here. He's doing a great job. He's got to go over all the parts and pieces that are on the floor of the Dream
I'll
Studio.
turn my clapper around so it's facing the right direction.
Going on the fly.
All right,
I love
Emily,
it.
do you have other questions?
I have a really fun question for the two of you from Bonnie B.
We do love a good fun question.
She wonders, for someone who has never made a quilt, what pattern would you recommend for the very first?
Oh, wow. I'm going to tell you, you want to make your first pattern from a cube. Get your ready, set, go. It's going to have the 8-inch cube, has 72 mix and match free patterns, and it has a 2.5-inch strip die. It's going to allow you to just start right away. All you have to do is add fabric.
And that is a great question. I think your best bet for your first sewing is definitely going to be making those blocks. Now, if you've never sewn before, another great way to get started is with our large tumbler die.
Yes, it comes on a 10 by 10 die board, makes a 6-inch finished tumbler, and both Eric and I think that was one of our first quilts we ever made, both of us.
Well, and you got me to do it for my first quilt too.
Well, see?
I love that.
And
And
look.
now I'm making a little 3-inch tumbler quilt, which I'm very excited about.
I love that little 3-inch one.
So cute.
I made a little tree skirt for a little tabletop tree with that. It was
Aw.
so cute.
Love that.
Just with Christmas fabric scraps.
So cute.
So
Okay, so we're just pressing our seams
we're pressing
open,
these open.
So
and we're adding them back into the pile here.
do you guys have any tips for Karen? She says that my 1/4 inch seam doesn't quite match. How do I get your true 1/4 inch seam?
Well, your best bet always is to cut something, sew it, press it, and measure it.
Yep.
Because you're right, 1/4 inch seams aren't always, if you have a 1/4 inch foot, I would come to grips with where with your foot that 1/4 inch is. And a great way to do that is to if you've got probably the easiest way if you've got a cube is to cut half square triangles.
Right.
Sew 2 of them together, press those seams open and out really well, lay it out, put your acrylic ruler on top of it and measure. If you're short, that probably means that you need to recheck that seam allowance.
Yeah.
You can measure that seam allowance too. You can get a little seam gauge that I keep one by my sewing machine whenever I'm starting a new project. And again, you want to just measure that. If you don't have a 1/4 inch foot, I would head to my local
Hardware store.
sewing store.
Oh, I would go to the hardware store and get painter's tape and mark it on my.
Well, you could do that. You could do that. Or you could just, I'm sorry, Greg, you didn't know I was scooting. You could just go get a 1/4 inch foot. I was thinking they could just go get a 1/4 inch
Oh yeah,
foot.
get a
because
1/4 inch foot. Everybody should have one.
then you're gonna
Emily
have it.
learned that process the hard way.
She did. She did.
Yeah. Dear sweet Darlene, our
The
friend, the
featherweight doctor. Yeah.
did my first quilt along with her, and she said, "Sweetie, that is not a 1/4 inch foot. Let's get you one." And it's, yeah, that and sitting while sewing has been ultimate
Yes.
game changer.
So, quilters, we found out she was standing whenever she was sewing. And while there are quilters who stand while they sew,
That's not usually how I
it's
sew.
not usually how we do. Now, on Wednesdays, you usually stand,
I do stand and sew, but
but
that's
you'll
like
notice
the
that we're
exception.
sitting. And there you go.
Yeah.
So now that I've gotten my first tier, or my first set of 2 triangles done, now I'm going back around and adding the 3rd one onto the base.
Yep.
And
So we're just
again-
taking triangles to build triangles.
Those dog ears are still gonna line up for me, and I'm gonna just keep
So wonderful.
stitching. Just keep stitching, stitching, stitching.
Oh, I think we have a clarifying question for Miss Denise.
Okay.
So she says she downloaded the pattern but didn't see the coloring page. So I
Okay,
think
that is not in the pattern.
Right.
It's in the block assembly directions, which you download from the dies information page on our website. So if you go in to AccuQuilt.com and you search for the Morningstar die and go to the dies product page, that is where you will find that to download.
yes.
You okay over there?
Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out why my pieces weren't matching, and then I realized I
Oh,
had them in the wrong order, so they're fine.
See, we do it too.
Yeah.
this is fun. Pam, Lori was at your presentation on Friday, and she wants to know how the Royals game was.
Oh, we should ask Brock. So Brock and I went to Kansas City, saw the Kansas City Quilt Show on July 27th. We're going to have a special Tuesday show all about it. And then we gave this great presentation at our good friends at Quilters HQ. And then we stopped and we saw like 2.5 innings. And we had hot dogs and it was fabulous.
Is there anything better?
The Royals did not win, but that was okay for us. Brock, do you have any other commentation for that?
No.
No,
The voice from beyond.
no. It was fun.
That's awesome.
So,
Oh,
but thanks for asking.
yeah. Georgia says, this is my new favorite block. I started out following the pattern, but now she has 16 blocks done.
Oh my goodness.
Georgia, you're on a roll.
You know, you can just do them black and white or, and, you know, however, whatever colors.
Right, there you go.
Arlene Gibney made 4 of this main quilt like this and put that together to be a quilt for her bed, and she said she had scraps from every quilt she'd ever made.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I'm moving again, Greg.
Which is way more than I would ever have.
Oh gosh.
That's so cool.
Gosh, yes.
So, so whoever came to the event, we'll have to ask her what she thought of the quilt show in Kansas
Oh
City.
yes.
Yes. Tell us.
Okay, listen, quilters, I am, what's the word? I am so biased now. So we went to the quilt show and we saw some really amazing quilts. And I sent a couple to Erica. There was one in particular. And I was like, should I make this? Because I think I can use the strip die and I can cut the diamonds. And because I am never, ever going to make a quilt that I can't cut with a die. I mean, that's just
right.
I mean, that's just what's happening and stuff. So, so it was funny. So there were amazing quilts, but I kept looking, thinking, oh, I can't make that with a die. But there were quite a few that I could. So
I'm sure there were.
And our good friend Luke Haynes has an exhibition there. He had an exhibition there.
That was so fun, and I didn't realize that before you left. Now, was Luke there?
No, he was not. I wished he was. I sent him a text that said, why are you and I always in the wrong place? Because he and I travel in the same circles, just at different times.
He is an amazing quilt artist.
Yeah, if you don't follow him, Luke Haynes, Haynes.
Yeah, he's fabulous.
He's, we have one of his original designs here at the AccuQuilt headquarters. Okay, so look, we're just pressing and laying out.
Yep.
So perfect.
Pressing and laying out.
So when you two started sewing the block, Carol would like to just clarify. So which pieces did you start with for the very first? Like, did you start kind of going around in a circle with those little triad? Okay.
So you just want to decide in your quilting head where it makes sense for you to start and jump in.
So I started here on this piece.
I think I started at the bottom center.
So I started here, and then I went to here, and then I pressed them all open, and then I did the other half, and now I'm adding so that was the right side I did, so now I'm adding the left.
You're kind of building little pyramids.
Right.
We are.
Exactly. And you have to start on the bottom of the pyramid.
Yes. That's how it works in life.
Yes.
Yes.
But yes, we're building triangles out of triangles. And we're going to show you a tip, because these little half square triangles on the side, on the edge, you need to sew your
I'm on the move, Greg.
your little blocks together before you add those half square triangles. Otherwise, your block won't work.
Let's see, this goes up here, I think.
That's right.
Okay.
Boy, I got to get my block in.
I know, we're getting there. All right, Emily, do we have questions?
Well, Joni wants to know if y'all have matching sewing machines.
We do not. Erica sews
We don't.
on a FOF, which is what we use here in the studio. Our good friends at FOF provided us with this sewing. Well, we purchased it, but our good friends at FOF have this machine. I sew on a Brother that I have been sewing on since I first learned to sew. So 25 years, 30 years.
Wow.
Since I started making quilts.
Now sometimes I sew on my featherweight. I have a featherweight, and sometimes I sew on that. Now that Darlene from the featherweight doctor introduced me to a 1/4 inch foot for it, because I didn't have a 1/4 inch foot for it, and I thought, how on earth does anyone sew with this without a 1/4 inch foot? Well, you
Indeed.
buy one from Darlene. That's how you do that.
All right, so quilters, I'm going to talk
Okay, this
for 1 second.
Okay,
Are
that's
you-
good,
are
because
you good?
no, that's good. Please talk, because
Okay.
I'm confused.
Good. So I've sewn all my bases together.
Here we go.
So now we want to add this triangle to the top. Okay? So I'm going to do the exact same thing. I'm going to start here, and I'm going to add the triangles to the top. Okay? And I'm not gonna press them yet because I have a pressing tip. Erica presses them open and I press them to nest.
You know, I did my last one to nest. It did work very well, so, but they worked well with pressing them open too.
Yeah.
It's just that there's bulk in this one.
Yeah, and so you
Here's the
just
thing.
wanna,
It's just because there's bulk in this one.
oh my goodness, I almost sewed that to the wrong place. Okay, so I'm gonna start here and I'm gonna add these top triangles. You should all be so proud of me because I have shoes on and I'm sewing. It's a miracle I can actually do this.
I left my shoes on. I
You
wore
are a
slip-offs.
shoer honor.
Well, my feet sometimes behave better, feel better if they have shoes on.
And to answer that other question, Emily, I only have one sewing machine. One time I think we asked on a Wednesday show how many
did.
sewing machines people had, and the people had like a dozen.
Wow.
Okay, I don't have a dozen.
I think the
have
average though was probably 3 or 4.
Oh, well, kind of 3.5, I guess.
3.5, do you know?
3.5. Well, because my friend Judy and I co-own a brother embroidery
custody.
machine. We share custody of a brother dream machine. So.
But it lives at Erica's house.
It lives at my house because I've got the better studio. Although the menfolk in her family are finishing her basement for her, so she will have a studio also.
So does that machine have a name? My sewing machine is not named.
No,
Does
that one is,
embroidery machine
no,
have a
it
name?
does not.
Because
It does not.
soon you'll have to come up
A
with
lot of people
custody
have
agreement.
names. Yeah, I
know.
know.
None of mine do. All right, don't forget you can ask questions. Emily, do we have more?
Yes, well, Lori says she loved your class.
Thank you, Lori.
Shirley says she was at the Kansas City Quilt Show and loved it. She attended your event on Friday night and had a great time.
We had like 70 people there. It was great.
Yeah, it was
Right?
quite the party.
Oh, and she purchased her Go.
Yeah.
Fit in the trunk of her car, I think.
Yes,
that's
I
what it
remember
said.
her. So when I go to events, one of the things I ask is, how many of you own a cutter and haven't taken out of the box yet? And she raised her hand, but she said, it's okay because it's in the trunk of my car. I just bought it at the show. So that was the only reason I let it slide.
That was an acceptable reason.
Yeah, let it slide. Quilters, if you have a cutter and you have not opened it yet, this is your sign.
Oh, yes.
Get it out of the box.
And just play with it.
Yeah,
Now, what
just-
I'm doing is going in and putting my tops on my pyramids here.
Yes, so am I.
And again, they are lining up just right because of those dog ears.
And
so that I
because
can
we've
go
sewn a
ahead
1/4 inch seam.
And go in, yep.
Ooh, this is a good question from Dolores.
Hi, Dolores.
She's wondering if we can use the cubes to create this block.
That's a great question. What's the answer, Emily?
That's a negative.
Negative. How come?
Because it's I believe, isn't it like an isosceles triangle that,
It is.
that these are? So it's going to cut half square triangles and 1/4 square triangles, but not the isosceles. It's just those 8 shapes are going to work to create those given cube size blocks.
Right. And these two dies are designed together. They are
These two shapes.
those two shapes are designed to sew together, and they are unique to this die board.
Exactly.
Sometimes bobs have shapes on them that you can find in cubes,
Yes.
but yet it's still a great way because it takes the guesswork and the math out of it. But in this case, we've got unique shapes for you.
Yes.
Right.
And Erica, I think I'm catching up with you.
Oh, well, there you go.
Well, I
I
don't
thought
know. It
we said
depends
this
on,
wasn't a race now.
I know. It depends on how much you talk.
I
as
know,
compared to
I know.
How much otherwise. Okay.
So I am gonna cut these apart and press them and maybe sew a section before we get into setting triangles.
Okay.
Ooh.
So here's the section that I have here. Ooh, hey, thanks for that overhead, guys. I'll move it. Okay. This one is going to have the half square triangle. So the triangle that has the half square triangle, I press towards the half square triangle, and this one I'm going to press towards this top. And it seems to work well. But I'm going to sew these two sections together and add that half square triangle so you can see, because we need to have time for the lovely Erica
Yes.
to show us
doing on time?
setting
Okay.
triangle magic.
I'm gonna press these and lay them out while we answer questions, and then we're gonna move on.
Yes.
So I'm going to sew my 2 pieces together before I add that half square triangle. And it will line up perfectly because I nested. All right, Emily, do we have questions?
Well, Odie has a remark that their featherweight is their main machine for piecing,
Yes.
as it is mine as well. Sonia is wondering, are you using a foot pedal, knee pedal, or just push button for quick on and off on your machines?
I always use my foot pedal.
I just use my foot pedal.
Now, I have, on occasion, done other things. But for the most part, I'm used to using my foot pedal.
All right. So,
Except here's the time I don't, when I'm sewing with my kids. So when I'm working with the grandkids and I'm teaching them how to sew, we will go with the button. And the reason I do that is because on my machines, I've got a little speedometer here, so you can set, this will
make it
make it
fast or
so
slow.
that it'll only go so fast.
Right.
And then you get a consistent speed, because what happens when you have a 5-year-old and you tell them to press down on a foot pedal? Pedal to,
Metal to the metal.
pedal to the metal, and we know what happens with your sewing machine. So
Right.
this way they have a consistent speed, and you can take that part of the equation out of it. So I teach the grands how to sew with the button.
All right, I've sewn my 2
wise.
units together, these 2 right here.
All right.
Now I need to add this half square triangle. I sewed them together. I pressed them in opposite directions so they nest. I pressed that center seam open, and now it's ready for my half square triangle, which is going to fit perfectly because I have that little bit of piece from the other block.
I am covered
If you tried to sew it to this block before you begin, it's not the right size.
Okay, I'm going to step back here right now
you
so
have-
that I can.
Do you need my fabric, or are you going to cut yours?
No, I've got mine over here, but then I'll cut yours too, because you cut yours out. I'm going to close it up so I can talk about this. So here's our setting triangle die. And we only need our side setting triangles for this one. So here, I'll turn it towards Greg.
Really?
So this is the shape. These are the corners, and we don't need the corners for this pattern. And I will show you, I'll get some cut out and then I can show you how. But we're gonna build our corners out of side triangles over here so that we have a bigger corner, basically. It's a design choice, okay?
Cool.
It's always a design choice, but this is gonna give you a different look. It's gonna create the look that you see behind me. So what I discovered with the help of the intelligent and wonderful and talented Marjorie Busby is a little bit different way of laying out my fabric so that I can get a better use of fabric on this die. So if you can take your fabric, take your die like we normally would, lay your acrylic ruler, and if you measure like a 1/4 inch over, you'd be cutting your fabric right about 18 inches
Okay.
or half a yard. Now, what I'm going to tell you to do is cut it a wee bit bigger. I cut mine at 19. I'm going to show you why. Here's my width of fabric strip, and I have cut the selvage edge off. Here's my fold. Now, setting triangle dies are magical because they are designed so that you put your tight, lengthwise grain,
Right.
right like that, on the outside of your quilt. And I'm going to line it up with my edge down here, so it's just a scotch over. I'm going to run parallel to my blade, just over a little bit. And then you're thinking, oh, what are you going to do? I could take it, and absolutely I could take it and fan fold it over and cut. But that was going to cut off some fabric because I've got blades underneath here.
Right.
So I'm going to instead take it and fold it
Oh.
like this.
Listen, you'll want to come back and watch this. This
So I'm going to
show
do
is
that
recorded.
envelope kind of fold. Okay?
Kind of what we do for bias
Kind of like
binding.
what we do for bias binding.
Look at
And I just
that.
want to make sure that I'm over with that. And I'm going to,
Oh, isn't that slick?
Erica's brilliant.
so, but I'm going to show you why this is so fun. So I still have 4 layers on here. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Right.
Now before just fan folding it over, I was going to get a total of 4 pieces out of this with the fabric.
Because we only need the side triangles, not the corner.
Not the corners, right.
right,
If you
okay.
needed the corners, all hits are off. Now it's important when you're doing this that your folded end is the end that's not being cut.
Okay.
Just keep that in mind. All right, now I'm going to open this back up again.
That's how the magic's gonna happen, huh?
Oh, it's just
Because
fabulous.
of that, I'm going to put it in this way because I've got a little extra fabric here I'm going to fold up, and I've got some extra behind us. And that is not going to be a problem at all. So we're going to start this through. And because I've got my Go Big, I have a little extra space over here. But with a Go Cutter, you're going to have enough space. If you roll that up tightly, you can do the exact same thing.
Yep. And from a customer experience standpoint, you definitely want to make sure that that fabric isn't going under the die, right? Because
Or on top of
or
it.
on top of the die.
Yep.
Okay, now we're going to give it some love just like we always would. And I've got my setting triangles.
Wow.
And I've got 4 of them. But because of how I cut it, look what I've got left.
Oh my gosh.
So now I can take this over here. I'm going to cut off my little tails. And I'm going to be able to get another cut.
Oh, I'm so glad I haven't cut my sitting triangles yet.
I know, because now you're going to save like 18 inches of fabric.
Seriously.
So you're going to get 6 instead of 4 out of your, oh, we don't have a trash can over here.
We do over here. It's okay.
So then I'm going to take, and again, now I've got my folded end, right?
Erica, can you kind of show where the lengthwise grain is going just to kind of remind folks at home?
Well, it's going to go right here because it's the fold. The selvage edge and the fold are going to be your lengthwise grain.
Perfect. Thank you.
And so I'm going to lay it out just like this.
And then you're going to move so Greg can get a
And I'm
good,
going to move.
so Greg can get a good shot.
Greg can get a good shot at this. He's got a good shot there. So again, I'm going to pull it back so you can see. We've got it all covered. I'm going to cover it with the mat.
Look at this.
I know, isn't that brilliant?
That's nifty. That's real nifty.
Just brilliant.
I'm going to put this here. I didn't make this revelation in time for it to be in the blog today. So you're only getting it here.
This is a video exclusive.
That's right. Video exclusive tip.
Exclusive live event.
Oh, how fun.
It's like you only get hot dogs at the baseball field.
That's right.
Exactly.
Right there on the live event.
Amen to that.
And now I've got those again. And I've got that nice
Look
tight
at that.
lengthwise grain.
Oh,
So now I've got
ta-da.
6 of them. Now, I actually have, oh wait, I got a little bit more.
Oh, wait, there's more.
Oh wait, there's more. But if I do this, it would put
That
that
bias.
bias on the outside edge.
Gotcha.
And I don't really want to do that. So I'm not going to do that with this, but I've got some prime real estate here that I can cut some other pieces for my quilt or have some absolutely outstanding scraps for something else. So I have really maximized my fabric now.
Fabulous.
Do you want me,
I got it
may
right
I?
here. Yes.
All right, do you want to come do it yourself?
No, I'm going to watch you. I'm going to stand
Okay.
here and pretend like I know what I'm doing.
So we're going to find your folds over here.
Yep, my folds
So
there.
again, we're going to go to the opposite side, that selvage side. She's already cut it off.
I already cut off my salvage.
We're going to line it up.
You're
Okay.
And we're going to fold.
Now look, it's the fold part that's
It's the
important.
fold part that's important because this is,
Because otherwise, if you left it here, it would cut these.
it would cut that.
Right.
And that's silly.
We don't want that.
Oh my goodness.
And where's the fold, Erica?
The fold is down here
Okay.
hanging off the end.
Okay.
So the fold is, think of the fold more as a tail at this point.
Yeah.
Right.
This
But
is
isn't-
just Pam's way of having me cut her fabric for her.
Pretty sure. Pretty sure.
And I'm glad we went over that because the comments are kind of going, wait, aren't they lengthwise grain? Won't it be on the straight of grain? Won't it
Yeah,
be on
no, lengthwise grain is how you always want to cut, especially setting triangles.
Yes.
Right. Now, if you rotary cut, you will end up with that bias on the outside, but I'm going to show you how we get around that with this pattern. Okay. So I've got one little thread over here.
Just the itty bitty little thread.
Snippet quilters don't pull it.
Don't
Yes.
pull it, I pulled. Okay.
No.
All right.
Okay.
So then
I'll
I'm going to
take
cut
these.
this
So
extra
look at
off.
this. So here's that outside edge, nice and tight, nice and tight.
Now, I've got my folded edge, which remember we know that's our
Lengthwise
our
grain.
lengthwise grain. It's
Erica,
going to fit right over there. We're
Would you
gonna-
remind us how many inches you cut with the
Nineteen.
fabric?
I did 19.
19. That's the magic
19
number.
is the magic
19
number.
is the magic number. It might work with 18 and a half. I didn't test that. I knew I was just a swidge off with 18.
But the pattern, when you typically do it, if you cut it with the 16 inches, you're only going to get 4.
Right, with the 18, you're only going to get 4. With 19, you're
gonna
going to get 6.
That 6 is better than 4
Excellent.
in this case.
In this case.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
think everybody's mesmerized. The questions have paused, and everybody's just like, "Oh my!"
Everybody's
goodness.
watching.
Everybody's
Yeah.
watching. There's that one thread
Right
place
there.
right there. Good job.
Good job. Look at that. Ta-da. Good job, Miss Erica.
Now,
And thank you to Marjorie for helping us
yes.
figure, us meaning Erica.
Actually, if you go back and look at the stars and the crown, for any of you who did the stars and the crown quilt along with us, that is how we cut those setting triangles for that as well. So
Yes.
this is something that's going to work with different sizes. It's just a great tip, and thank you, Marjorie.
Yeah.
Now, let's talk about those. Now that we've got some cut, let's look at how we're going to work with them next week when we put everything together.
Do you want me to hold stuff?
Yeah, you want to put some up?
Sure.
And build a corner?
Sure.
So we told you earlier, we're going to build this corner. Now I'm in the way, so I'm going to get out of Greg's way. We're going to build this corner out of setting triangles. And that's how you get that bigger space.
So see,
It doesn't work the same as a
it doesn't. A design wall.
A
but
design
it's
wall.
But look.
Oh, look at that!
See?
You still have that long edge to the outside, right?
Right.
But it's creating a larger corner for you.
Yeah.
Now, before anybody panics, because they're rotary cutting this and they're thinking, oh no, the outside of my quilt, it's going to be all wonky. What am I going to do? There is a border. Now, it's not a wide border. It's a thin border right around the outside. And that is going to work to stabilize those outer edges of your quilt.
If you've rotary.
If you've rotary cut and you've got bias on the
Yeah.
outside. But just be careful, because what happens with bias? It stretches.
Yeah.
So you want to be careful when you're doing that.
Any,
We have questions, Emily, before I sit down.
I'm sorry. I'm just sitting here blown away by this. This is so cool.
Yeah, I mean, it was brilliant.
Melanie does ask, as a rotary cutter, before she got the Go, she always starched her fabric. Do you recommend starching before using the Go cutters?
I don't ever starch. I love the smell of sizing.
Yeah.
So sometimes I do that. But I'm going to tell you, I don't think you need to. The reason most quilts are starch is so that they get a clean cut. Right?
Yes.
And with our dies, you're going to get a clean cut. It's going to be accurate, 100% accurate every time, 10 times faster than rotary cutters or scissors.
Now, the exception to that, the one time, I'm just going to throw this away because it's making me crazy.
Okay.
The one time that I would go ahead and do some sizing on it or some starch on it if it was a looser weave fabric. So if I'm die cutting something that's a loose weave fabric, so not a quilting cotton, okay? Some other kind of like a gauzy kind of fabric, then I might be tempted just to stabilize it a little bit more. If it's a looser weave or if it's a more inexpensive fabric that's got a looser weave on it, then maybe you do. Some people always do, and that's great.
Yeah.
I'm kind of lazy, so if I don't have to, I don't.
Yeah. Okay.
It's just
Perfect. Perfect.
All right, and then quilters, you want to make sure you're following the pattern so that you're laying out your setting triangles and block rows correctly. And Erica will be here next week
I
to
will be here
lay
next
those out and show you how to work it.
We're gonna lay them out. We're gonna put our rows together. We're gonna talk about putting that border on, and we're gonna talk about some finishing tips. And then, gosh, the week after that is already the show and tell, isn't
and
it?
tell.
It's amazing.
Wow.
Don't forget, quilters, you want to check out the AccuQuilt blog because the lovely Erica will have a post each Wednesday during the quilt-along going over the details from the day's event. Except for today, she already wrote the blog for today.
Right.
It does not include the magic.
It doesn't include the
Setting
magic
triangles.
because I didn't come up with the magic in time.
So be sure to sign up. That way you'll be notified whenever a blog post goes live.
That's right. And the other thing you want to do is follow along with the AQS Quilting Project Parade Facebook group. And that's where you want to post your pictures of your progress. And we pop on there from time to time. Pam's traveling, but I'll be popping on there.
I was there a couple of days
out.
ago looking
Yeah.
at some really cool stuff. Some of you have already finished.
You're so speedy.
We're okay with that.
AQS is going to be updating their original blog post as well. So if you follow the AQS blog, you're going to be able to go back and find those updates there as well.
All right, quilters, before we end today's part 3 of our quilt-along for the Go Morning Star Rainbow Quilt, we want to announce the winner of today's giveaway.
Excellent idea. The lucky winner of $100 in AccuQuilt reward points is, drum roll please, Debbie F. from Verona, Wisconsin. Congratulations.
And Debbie, I have already put that $100 on your account at AccuQuilt.com. So check in,
Shop
get you a die.
away.
I know, if you haven't, I just can hardly wait. Maybe you need those setting triangles so you can do
You haven't
that
gotten a
magic.
fox yet. Get your fox.
Yes, get you the fox.
While he's still there.
And don't forget, we have plenty of special offers available for you on our website, including that Die to Try July Die to Try, which is the Go Fox.
The June die to try, which is the Go Fox.
The June Die to Try, which is the Go Fox. He has limited supply. Once he's sold out, he's gone. If it's already sold out on the website, you can for sure get one at your local AccuQuilt retailer. You might want to call ahead.
And you can vote, unless they're sold out too.
Yeah.
But you can always go online and vote to bring him back.
Sure.
Yes.
Now to get your order in right now, open a new tab in your browser, type in AccuQuilt.com/party. You can see our current deals and you can place your order. All right, Emily, do we have any last questions before we wrap it up here?
Well, let's just check here. Does the corner triangle die fit the Go Cutter?
Yes,
Yes,
It sure does.
it does. It absolutely does.
that's a good question.
Yes.
Good question.
All right, before we're getting ready for our next show, a couple of housekeeping items.
Yes.
I am gone for the next 2 Wednesdays, but the lovely Erica will be here next
So
Tuesday.
still come.
Still come, still come. But if you're at Missouri Star Quilt Academy, be sure and check out my class. And if you're at the Long Beach Quilt Show, be sure and come check out our lounge. We're going to have a great time. We have a booth there. Now, next week on June 27th is a very important date.
We're going to have a party.
We're going to have a party. We are going to release the July Die to Try early because July 4th is on a Tuesday and our offices will be closed. There will be no show that day. Okay?
All right.
But we hope you have learned so much today and continue on your own Go Morningstar Rainbow Quilt. Be sure to post your pictures in the Project Parade Facebook page.
And always when you post your pictures, do hashtag
AQ
AQ sews so that we can find them. and so that we can use them on the next Wednesday, which is going to be our show and tell show.
It's going to be great.
So I will be popping in there and looking for pictures over the next 2 weeks, so be sure you get your pictures posted. With that, we will say goodbye, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks so much for watching. To learn more about your quilting craft, be sure to follow us on Facebook and subscribe to our YouTube channel for live events every Tuesday and Wednesday. You can check out the events page on the AccuQuilt website for more details on upcoming shows. And if you're looking for even more inspiration, visit our blog for exclusive tutorials filled with tips and tricks. And remember, at AccuQuilt, we help you cut time so you can quilt more.
Enter your email to sign up for notifications for upcoming events. Signing up for events means you're entered to win a door prize. So you want to tune in to see if you've won.
Join us every Tuesday at 12 noon Central Time for launch parties and trunk shows. These events are filled with tips and tricks and inspiration. Next time, remember, we're having an early surprise launch party for July's Die to Try Series Die.
And be sure to join me every Wednesday at 12 noon Central Time for AccuQuilt Live. We have tons of fun. Next time, we'll be assembling our quilt tops for the Go Morning Star Rainbow Quilt. We can't wait to see how everyone's comes together.